Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the PETHS Alumni Network podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today we are joined by none other than Mr. Sebastian Hadas. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on. We know you're a busy student. Without any further ado, let's hop into the intro. So I know we met in high school. You're class of 2021, now studying at Ivy Business School. You know we love Western on this podcast. You were involved with the boys soccer team back in the day. And I guess we'll
hmm
just start into it. What are some key moments for high school that really made the experience good for you?
Yeah, for sure. Key moments was definitely playing on that soccer team.
Mhm.
After grade nine, I quit in my club. I needed some form of exercise, and I kind of used that as an escape, get my endorphins, be able to study hard. Um, yeah, I think that was ultimately my highlight, just playing on that team, surrounded by
Mhm.
my boys and having fun.
Who are your coaches, Mr. Scaps?
Mr. Scaps and Mr. Ramen, yeah, both the
Okay,
French guys. Love
big
them,
shout
love
out.
those
Yeah,
teachers.
I
They
hear
were
they're great
great.
coaches. Yeah. What position you
Great
play?
coaches, great teachers. I like to play midfield, but I
Mhm.
if my memory's correct, I think they slipped me on defense a couple of times.
Okay,
But yeah,
versatile guy.
mostly midfield.
What are some like lessons from soccer, that you can take with you into like real life? Like what are some things you've learned?
Yeah, great question. The great thing about playing sports is all the transferable skills that you get there, such as knowing how to work in a team, knowing how to get through an argument, knowing how to work together to achieve a common goal, even when things aren't going great. A ton of transferable skills, and all of those I have used in my day-to-day life, even at school and the regular, just to make new friends, even participate in class, knowing what to say, knowing how to navigate a group of people or class. It really is an amazing. If anyone has a chance to join sports, it is honestly a great way to get yourself out there and build those
Hmm.
skills.
Yeah. Do you have any, great soccer memories outside of school that you can talk about?
Man, great soccer memories.
Yeah,
If I had a highlight reel, I'd put it up here. There's too many
we
for me to
should.
talk about.
Oh, this guy's a skiller.
I'm not
Five-star
trying to be
skills.
cocky, but long highlight reel,
Five-star
3 hours
skills.
long.
Yeah. All right. So then towards the end of high school, obviously you applied to business schools. Did you always know that it was going to be business, or were there other things in mind too?
No, I had a very untraditional path to get to business my whole life. Honestly, like through elementary school to high school, like up until grade 12, I was fully set on doing biochemistry, something in the science related field. My dad and my brother both majored in biochemistry. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick to what's familiar. I went through that. I enjoyed taking science courses. I enjoyed the biologies, chemistries, whatever it was. But I, I kind of had a suspicion that I would want to go into Ivy at Western University, and I kind of just pivoted. When I sent in my application at Ivy, I kind of just said, "Do you know what? Is it possible to change from a science faculty and go into core business?" And from there, as soon as I started day one of classes, I was super happy with my choices. I really loved it
Hmm.
right away. I kind of understood at the end of grade 12 that maybe science wasn't for me just due to all of the maths and the complicated memorization.
Hmm.
It wasn't necessarily for me.
Yeah. What were some of like the prospects that kind of drew you to business? How did you like kind of envision it going?
Yeah, definitely. Great question. I am definitely more of a people person. I can connect with people much more than I can doing a research paper. And
Mhm.
since the roles in business that I kind of want to do as a career are all oriented, such as
Mhm.
some roles in consulting, like looking at the people side of consulting, I kind of asked myself, what is the best way for me to get from point A to point B in my career?
Mhm.
And that kind of just ultimately led me into going into, like I said, business.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any like advice for someone who, like wants to go into something and they're set on going to something, but then, how do you like keep your mind open to other possibilities?
For sure, I'm definitely one of those people who say to follow your heart. I would looking at myself now, I'm applying to a bunch of these jobs and I'm kind of like, would I really want to do this in the future?
Mhm.
And 90% of the time it's going to be a no. But I also recognize like you kind of have to put in the shift and do work you don't want to do to achieve your end goal. So I would say align your path with whatever your end goal wants to be, if that's happiness or
Mhm.
doing work you enjoy your whole
Yeah.
life. But don't be shy to go through a rocky road to get there.
Mhm. That's
And
great
that, yeah,
advice. Yeah.
that's the best way to keep an open mind. Just don't put things out
Mhm.
because you don't want to do it initially.
Yeah. Were your dad and brother kind of disappointed, or like how did they take it when you told them you don't want to follow their path?
Yeah, honestly, my brother was my biggest support person. He kind of told
Mhm.
me throughout high school, he was at Waterloo at the time doing biochemistry, and he's like, you're gonna hate this. It is studying for 10, 12 hours a day.
Mhm.
It's all research based, all memorization based, a ton of math. And I was like in denial the whole 3 years or 4 years in high school. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't believe you. I'm just gonna shut out
Mhm.
everything you say and go for it. And then when I made that last minute decision, he was like, I think you did the best thing possible for yourself. And
Mhm.
my dad was on board as well. He was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you made the right choice.
Yeah, I think, even for me too, I think the reason why I almost made this channel in the first place is to really gain a perspective from people who have been through these experiences. I was fortunate enough to talk to someone who went through business school and they were able to kind of help me paint a better picture, right? Because sometimes you get a glamorized version of what you see
Hmm.
online, or you just look at the university's ranking, or your friends go to that university and you're like, okay, that's for
Yep.
me, when it might not necessarily be the best path for you, right?
100%. It is very easy to get lost in the sauce of it, as I would say. You can have 30 friends that go to one university in a program you don't like, and then be extremely tempted to do that just because everyone's there. But at the end of the day, like I said, be true to yourself and follow your heart because
Hmm.
you're gonna regret it when you realize all your friends are no longer, you can't really stay beside them forever. They're gonna have jobs somewhere else. You can't,
Hmm.
be with them at the same job and trying to enjoy something that intrinsically
Hmm.
you can't.
I think that really captures the essence of this, channel in the first place.
Mhm.
What other business schools were you looking at in grade 12?
I did not look at any. Honestly, applying to Ivy was like a long shot. I kind of just did it to do it, to be honest. I thought like if I'm gonna go to Western, maybe I can pivot into business if I really hate my program as a backup plan. So it was I kind of just left it on the table as a backup plan. So I didn't really apply elsewhere. After I got accepted into Ivy, I even reached out to Queen's Commerce and I was like, do you guys have, is it possible to also put in a late application here to see if I can weigh out the benefits between Ivy and
Hmm.
Queen's? Unfortunately, at the time they said no, but I'm extremely happy that they said no because I'm loving my time here at
Hmm.
Ivy. I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
change it for any other experience, to be honest.
Hmm. Speaking on that great experience, what are some things you kind of picked up at Western and at Ivy?
Yeah, I've picked up on a lot of things. I picked up first and foremost on my first couple of weeks at Ivy on the professionalism. It is very in line with what you may think a business school is like. You have your friends, you have your bros, but when it's time to do work, people put their heads down and they're doing work. And I'm
Hmm.
sure that's true in all programs
Hmm.
to a certain extent. But I feel like even on Western's main campus, you kind of just feel like a lot of people are friendly and they want to reach out to you and be your friends, but when it's
Hmm.
time to do work, they put their heads
Yeah.
down, which is a very nice feeling. It keeps you locked in yourself, so you don't kind of get distracted by all these things that are
Hmm.
trying to knock you off your path.
Yeah. So spending the first 2 years on main campus and then coming to Ivy this year, what are some like differences that like kind of caught you off guard about Ivy?
Yeah, well, the biggest difference, it didn't necessarily catch me off guard because I knew this going into Ivy, but just
Mm-hmm.
the 8 to 1 classes every morning from Monday to Friday is, I would say, definitely the hardest thing that I am currently doing. Waking
Mm-hmm.
up and debating every morning if I'm going to go to class is a terrible feeling,
Uh-huh.
but it's keeping me, it's keeping me true to myself, and I think I kind of need to get more discipline. So it's probably the best thing for me currently.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I would say people are very much similar to how they would be on Western campus. Everyone's very friendly as they would
Mm-hmm.
be on Western campus. The one thing I will say though is the educators, you get to have a lot more face time and be a lot more
Mm-hmm.
personal with them than you would be on Western's main campus if you're just
Mm-hmm.
studying business management, which was
Yeah.
what I was in before. And that's a really nice change I have enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. What's been your favorite class so far?
Ooh, favorite class. I would have to say leading people in organizations
Mm-hmm.
just because I really enjoyed how the class was structured. and I think the content was most in line with what I wanted to learn. I was
Right.
in a accounting course, and so was you, and I couldn't
Hmm.
really find any joy doing the actual
Yeah.
accounting work. The teacher
Yeah.
was great, people were great in the
Uh-huh.
classroom, like I said, but
Hmm.
yeah, doing that kind of work just kind of put me off.
Yeah. What was like your biggest takeaway in leadership?
In leadership, I gained a great perspective on people and
Hmm.
how people act and kind of like human nature at its core. And I think that has just opened up my eyes to seeing, it may sound cliche, but the way I see people around me now would very much differ than how I would see them before. So,
Hmm.
for example, if I was in an argument with someone, I'd be hot headed, I'd be stubborn, I'd be like, why can't you see my point, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. But now I can kind of take a step back and understand where they're coming from
Hmm.
before I just jump into a conversation and being like my
Hmm.
old classic self and being stubborn.
Yeah. Did it kind of like change your perspective on leadership or like your definition of leadership?
Ooh. Well, he did give us a pretty strict definition of what leadership meant. I
Hmm.
kind of always took leadership from a subjective approach as there's a strict definition, but you can meld it to what you want it to be. But I would say I would say it's still pretty in line with what I thought it would be prior.
Hmm. How were your 48-hour reports? I know that's a big thing at Ivy. How were those?
Yeah, so just to give a bit of a background, 40-hour reports are kind of like it's a group project with something called your learning team. So just a
Hmm.
group of five or so students that you work with throughout your semester. And you have 40 hours to complete a group project. And it kind of mimics like a real life experience, sort of say, where
Hmm.
you have a strict deadline and you have to meet it no matter what. And those honestly have been a great time for me. I like them way more than exams and longer
Yeah.
projects just
Yeah.
because you're forced to sit down and do work and not kind of slack off, which is something that I struggle with. But I found it to be a great experience because you kind of go through a lot of experiences that you typically wouldn't, such as
Hmm.
if there's an argument in your group, you kind of have
Yeah.
to settle it there and then because you have something that's bigger than all of you in the moment, which is completing the assignment.
Hmm.
So it's a very awesome experience to have gone through. Yeah. It is
Yeah.
stressful, I would say, but
Yeah.
it is nice to
Yeah.
have gone through it.
Yeah, no, looking back, in those moments it's stressful, but then when you look back,
Hmm.
you're like, that was a great time, especially, if you have a great learning team.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's like the section culture? So in Ivy, you have your 78 people in a section. It's kind of like elementary school where, you're in a classroom with these 78 people and the teachers like come to you and then you're in that room all day. And there's 10 sections, so each section has like a
Hmm.
different culture. How would you say that's been so far?
No complaints on my end. I think my section has gelled really well together.
Hmm.
There's not really any cliques forming where people are kind of like, it's like five people and they're not really inviting of other people. I haven't really
Hmm.
noticed that at all. There's obviously going to be groups forming as people gravitate towards certain people, and that is kind of human nature. So nothing. I don't really have anything negative to say.
Hmm.
Everyone's friendly. Everyone's
Yeah.
open to being your friend, being kind,
Hmm.
helping you out. It's a very, I would say, it's a very positive environment to be
Hmm.
in.
Yeah.
However, I am not sure if that's true of all sections, so I don't want to
Yeah. Yeah.
generalize it and say every section has had the same experience as I had,
Hmm.
and perhaps people in my class don't really feel the same that I feel.
Yeah.
But in my perspective, just speaking solely
Hmm.
on what I've experienced, what I've been through, it has been a very positive
Yeah.
experience altogether.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's kind of added to that experience is I feel like the program itself is really designed to like help you out. So, they have a very holistic case-based approach. So, you learn the skills you need, but then they also have like workshops and events for you to learn like your soft skills and, how to write a resume, how to network. Like how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so the workshops for me were
Yeah.
kind of um they were helpful, but I think a lot of the content that they covered was things I already knew.
Hmm.
So it was kind of hard to get all the value out of it. I found myself zoning in and out a bit, but
Yeah.
ultimately they did provide or they did fill in some gaps of information that I didn't have prior. So that
Hmm.
was pretty helpful. And even just getting small tweaks in my resume and cover letter that I never would have thought of changing and have helped me uh I mean haven't got an interview yet, so I don't know how
Hmm.
much it helped me, but I'm hoping it's gonna help me sometime soon.
Hmm. Yeah. So speaking of things that, you've learned, if you could go back and tell yourself, in high school, like a piece of advice, what would it be?
a piece of advice, I would say get your habits down.
Hmm.
It's once you go to university, if you're in a very demanding program, which to be fair, in the first 2 years I wasn't, and
Yeah.
one could even argue now
Yeah.
it's not the most demanding program out there.
It's up for
It
debate.
definitely, yeah, it's
Yeah.
up for debate for sure. For me, it is pretty demanding for what I've
Hmm.
been through the first 2 years, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely say get your habits in place. High school and elementary are definitely the best times to do that because when it comes
Hmm.
to university, the last thing you want to do is be procrastinating on an exam that you have in a week
Yeah.
and then crunching everything down in one day
Hmm.
because you decided to watch Instagram reels for eight
Yeah.
hours that day.
When I was, living in the same building as you at Old Hall, we would go to the same classes and you were, very motivated and, you had all your notes ready. What are some tips that others can follow to really stay focused and be prepared?
I think as long as you know yourself and you know what you need to do to be ready for whatever exams coming up or assignment,
Hmm.
then go with that strategy. For me, if I didn't do most of the work prior to class, I would kind of it would be difficult for me to find the time to do that later. And in lectures, it is definitely very, very beneficial to have gone through the content so you have an understanding instead of just sitting there for 3 hours, not knowing what's going on, and then having to redo all your notes after that and trying to figure out what just happened the past 3 hours of my life.
Hmm. Do you have any tips for note taking and test taking as well?
Note taking, no. Test taking, yes. I
Yeah.
am really good at crunching my time and just
Yeah.
getting everything in my head when I need to.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I would say in terms of test taking, get all the best resources you can find, whether it's your note taking or note takers on the internet,
Hmm.
and kind of schedule your day in a way that you know you can follow it. So I did a Pomodoro technique, which was
Yeah.
25 minutes studying and then 5 minute break and just following those
Hmm.
intervals throughout the day. It kept my brain fresh and I was able to just maximize the amount of information
Hmm.
I could squeeze on my head. So come time for the exam, it would be fresh and I could just get it done fairly quickly.
Nice. That's perfect advice. Okay, we'll hit you with some quick rapid fire. Favorite song right now to listen to?
Ooh, favorite song. Honestly, I've been listening to Butterfly by James Blake on the Metro Boomin album for
Okay.
Spider-Man. That one's pretty hard.
Okay. Speaking of movies, favorite movie?
Favorite movie. Ooh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan.
Hmm.
I just saw Oppenheimer. I love movies
Nice.
like that. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna just say currently Oppenheimer is up there for me.
Okay. What's your favorite food?
Sushi.
Sushi.
Done.
Okay. Yeah.
Easy. Done. I
Nice.
love
Yeah.
sushi. I love it.
Okay. What's your favorite exercise at the gym?
That's so funny you asked me that because I just started working out again. I did like leg day for the first time in like
Mhm.
4 years. I don't have to say squats.
Squats. Okay, that's
Yeah,
an
I love
interesting one.
squats.
Most people
I'm
hate
loving
those.
squats right now.
Most people hate those with a
I
passion.
messed up all my shoulders, my rotator cuffs are done. So
Oh,
bench press is out the picture. Overhead
I got
pressing
it.
is like out the picture right now, so I can't claim those.
Interesting. No, most people say they like burn like crazy, so no one likes to do squats.
Fair enough. I'm on low weightage right now, so maybe I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm not at that point where I'm gonna hate
Okay. If
it.
you had $1 million right now, what would you do with the money?
$1 million. I took a personal finance class and I
Yeah.
understand the power of investing.
Yes.
So I would definitely just load it up on my RRSP and my
Yeah.
TSFA, or honestly ask advice from someone who's richer than me and tell them what can I do with $1 million. That's what I would do.
Okay, if you had to spend it on like a luxury good or like possession and you just wanted to
Okay.
ball out, what would it be?
If I wanted to ball out, no consequences,
Yeah.
I would, okay, I would buy something useful that would last me a long time and not depreciate, I guess. Okay, to give a concrete answer, I would
Yeah.
buy 30 TVs that are really expensive.
30 T what are you gonna do with 30 TVs
Just stare at them all day.
in one room?
And one room. I want it to be on my
Okay.
floors, walls, and ceiling. Yeah,
That's a very interesting answer.
that's
Haven't
my
heard that
dream.
one.
Yeah.
Haven't okay.
I'm glad you
What's
haven't.
what's your dream vacation spot?
Dream vacation spot. I'm such a homebody that I can't even think of
Yeah.
one. If I were to go on vacation, I would want to do it somewhere relaxing where I have family. So I would say probably Croatia, just chilling with my
Hmm.
relatives down
Okay.
there.
What's your favorite TV show or video game?
Sure, I'm not huge into video games.
Okay.
TV show. I would say I just watched True Detective season one,
Hmm.
so I would say that right now. I can't think of any other TV show right now.
Nice. Okay, what's one thing you want to accomplish within, let's say, the next 10 to 15 years?
One thing I want to accomplish. Okay, I'm pretty big on mental health and self-help. So one thing I want to accomplish is just understanding myself more and getting a just getting a better understanding of who I am, I would say.
Okay. That's the most valuable tool, right?
I think
Yeah.
it's up there for sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any books you'd like to recommend?
Any books, man? I haven't read a book in a long time besides
Fair.
my mandatory readings, but
Fair.
I do want to start picking up reading more books. I would
Nice.
say
Yeah.
um strictly because I'm in business and I've been wanting to read this book for a while now. Rich Dad Poor Dad. I haven't read it
Yeah,
yet. I
that's a
heard
good
it's
one.
good.
Yeah.
I heard it's good, so maybe that
Yeah.
one.
Do you have a class or teacher you want to shout out from Pet?
From Pet. Ooh, I have a ton. I would say I would say Mr. Scaps for sure. This
Yeah.
guy made my last Mr. Scaps and Mr. Ramen for
Yeah.
sure. They made my
Yeah.
last few years.
Hmm.
Pre-COVID, obviously, a
Hmm.
lot of fun.
Okay, if you could nominate a fellow Pet grad or a few, who would you like to nominate to be on this podcast?
Yeah, let's see. I would like to nominate Eris Hedgecock for one,
Okay.
Cuba Thomas, Omar, Dexter Levent, all those guys. I want to see them on here.
Okay, we'll make that happen, bro. We'll wrap up now. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for being on the channel. We know you're a busy business student.
Yeah,
You
thank you
know,
for inviting me.
yeah,
A lot of fun.
we love Western students on this podcast. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.